Hi everyone. Hi everybody. Thank you for joining again. There were a lot of people who wanted to do the portrait session one more time. So I'll show you something different this time, but again, essentially based on portraiture. While everyone is coming, I'll just show you a few of the portraits from my diary, and then maybe at the end of the session I'll show you some the same ones again. A portraiture can be a slightly difficult subject, a little intimidating, but you can do lots of things to make it very interesting. This is a picture of a friend's husband and son, which was made in about 20 minutes or so, all in pen. Then the same friend took me to a gallery, so I have pictures of that. Okay, this is pictures of people sitting in a graduation party, and here's a picture of people but no faces, so this becomes kind of a portrait but still not a portrait. And then there's some more finer portraiture which I absolutely love to do. Oh, here's another one of my niece. I thoroughly enjoy making portraits, and it's quite a challenge to take on a portrait. It can be very frustrating when the features don't align and what you're drawing looks completely different from what you were hoping it should look like. But what I've found is that when we are practicing something like flowers, okay, this is from a painting. So even something like flowers, we have to practice the same kind of scale and proportion, which helps us again try and figure out how the scale and proportion and size, placement, all of that works for something like portraiture. It also helps if we are in the habit of visiting galleries where they display a lot of portraits, where you can study how the portrait is made. Yeah, here are some of my really favorite ones. This is a painting by Norman Rockwell, and I made this picture standing in front of the painting. I had all the time in the world to do that. And then I found another painting by an artist called Repin. He's probably Russian. It was really old. I don't have the date on this one, but it was really old, but the style and the painting was just so modern. It looked beautiful. So a little bit of sketching practice from sketches itself helps, because directly going and making something, a sketch from a real face can be a little difficult. So when you're learning portrait, or you're trying to teach yourself portrait the way I did, one good task is to first look for a sketch and sketch the sketch. Then look for a photograph in black and white and sketch from the black and white photograph. And as you make the black and white photograph into a color photograph, and then into a real person. Yes, let's begin. So I'm just waiting for everyone to come in, so just give 5 minutes. Now that everyone's here, we can start. The girl in the portrait, this is just a picture I got off the internet. A black and white photograph. You can search for black and white photography, and you'll find lots of pictures that you can choose from, and then you can paint those from. Okay, so I'm going to break down how you can make a portrait and how you can at least practice a few features. I'll show you how I practice them, and that might help you to get your hand moving. Once your hand starts moving, then you start understanding proportion. So let's start. If you have an A4 sheet, let's make visually just 4 parts of it, and then just make a small section over here. This is just make an oval shape, and remember, don't erase. Just keep your hand moving very freely. This is just a sketch, so you do not have to you can hold the page any way you want to, but I'm going to show you a few dimensions of the face, and I'm going to show you how to draw a few features. So if all of that remains in one page, that works. So if you want to do it vertical, that's also fine. If you want to do it horizontally, that's fine too. For me, it becomes a little convenient so that I can just move it this way because I have no space in the top. Alright, so we've made this oval, and divide the whole oval in half vertically, like so, and then visually figure out which is half horizontal, and you can draw that line. On one side, write half, so you know what line I'm referring to. This is the half horizontal line. And then in the bottom half, also on this line, try and see where the half would come to. So you have a line at 1/4. This is the dimensioning. And then again visualize where's the half over here, and break that up. So this is 1/8. Alright, I hope this is slightly clear. I'll hold it at different heights, so sometimes if I hold it too close, then you can't see it. I'll just describe this. I have drawn an oval. I have a vertical line at half of the oval, and I have a horizontal line at half. I have another horizontal line at 1/4, and I have another horizontal line at 1/8 of a division of this oval. Alright, now here at this half line is where we are going to be marking the eyes. At 1/4 line, we are going to be making the nose. At 1/8 line, we are going to be making the mouth. Now remember, these are just guidelines. So when we have a blank space, we just need guidelines to help us decide where to place what feature. Guidelines are not strict lines, so based on the guideline, if you feel you want to change positions or certain features to make them look better for your taste, please feel free to do that. Another reason you use the guidelines very loosely is so that with the guidelines you can then manipulate and change certain features. So if you have your nose point over here, you can play around and make the nose longer or shorter based on the guideline. Alright, let's start making the features. I'm going to start making the features here. Somewhere in the middle of this half, I'm going to draw an almond shape, and about the same almond shape distance away, the same width away, I'm going to draw the next one. There are a lot of proportions you might find in the face that are very interesting, like the distance between the two eyes is the width of the eye. You can use any pencil you want. I have both. I just choose a soft lead though. Don't choose something very hard. Don't make the face, the almond shape too big. I would say make it say about this proportion. So somewhere between where your 1/4 and 1/8 is, that's about as much as you should make. If you make them too big, they look different. Again, nothing is wrong, it just looks different. Right, now for the nose, a lot of people have this thing about trying to draw a very, very sculpted nose. So don't bother with that, because noses can be crazy. So just draw this little receptacle for the nose and leave it at that for now. As we do more of the features in detail, I'll try and show you how you can make noses, more sculpted. Now coming down to the lips, again, lips is something that people like to sculpt a lot. I'm going to show you some very simple lips. I'm going to move the center of my lip line somewhere over here. So I've already adjusted. I think the distance between the nose and the lip might be a lot. Okay, if you suddenly see a cat walk across the screen, don't get spooked. My cat has decided to join me today. Come, Chewy. She usually drinks from my painting water and comes for approval. Okay. All right. Okay, now if this is the center of the mouth, just make a short curve on the top of the mouth, and then a slightly bigger curve for the bottom lip. That should be enough. We don't really need to make a very sculpted mouth. It tends to look too awful. And now that we have the features in place, we can yeah, Chewy. Yeah, Pillu, what do you want? Okay, now we can change a few things. We can add about so much space over here so that we get a chin, a good sized chin, and somewhere on either side of the eyes you decide how wide you want the space around the eye, and then you can join this in a graceful line like so. This is how the features would fit in. Now, a lot of times when people are starting portraiture, I usually start my portraiture class by just getting the participants to draw each other, and yes, that session usually starts with a shriek, with people threatening to leave class, but they don't do that bad. They surprise themselves also. Yeah, somebody needs a measurement one more time. Here we go. This was my original oval. Half center vertical, half horizontal. From the half to the bottom would be a 1/4, and then at 1/8. The chin, again, now it depends. I usually make my chin about this size, so about 1/4 of the division I like to add, but I've added a little more too. Yeah, the nose also can be a problem, so I would recommend in the beginning just make a shape like that, and that's good enough, because there's the other features, there's so much we can do. Now, beginners of portraiture tend to make a very small hairline. What we need to do is, from this half again, visualize half of the top, and this is where potentially you can draw your hairline or higher. One second, I'm just gonna have to give something to my cat. Come. Girls just usually want something to eat. Okay, she wants to go in your room. I'm leaving the door open. What about the width measurement? Yes, so there is a width measurement, but I work mostly with just the proportioning, visual proportioning. But yes, there will be some kind of proportion for length of the face versus width of the face. And let's see, from current measurements, I would measure so and say my length is about 1.5 times the width of my face. That's how much I would like to give. Okay, now from here is where the hair starts. Again, this was the guideline, but based on the other features, I don't want to make the forehead this small, so I have extended this, and this will be the top of the head. Now the ears will pop out from here between the eye line and the nose line. This is where we will make the ears. And the hair usually goes around the ears. The chin should not be as wide as the mouth because it looks really beefy. It's tapering towards the bottom. Now for the eyes are usually the critical feature on the face, and they can make or break a face. So I'll give you a brief idea over here and show you a detail of how you can practice this. The top lid is usually rounder and the bottom lid is usually shallower. That is one important point. When you draw the iris, make sure that it's a proper circle, especially if the face is looking forward. If it's looking to the side, the size compresses, the pupil size compresses. Remember that we have a lid on top, and then the same height of your iris, about the same, you will have eyebrows. Now I've drawn them horizontally, but the shape of the eyebrow is more or less like that. It's always fatter in the center. And during the last session we had a little discussion about why our eyebrows are shaped like that. What's the purpose of eyebrows? Now, the eyes have got a dark center, which is the lens, which must always be dark no matter what color your eyes are. If it's not dark, it looks unreal. And if you want your eyes to look lively, put a little bit of a reflection. The reflection must be on the same side of both the lenses. It should not be on the left on one and on the right on one. Though everything else in the face is mirror opposite, this reflection is always on the same side. Otherwise, your eyes look squint. And then you can quickly shade about half or 3/4 of the eye, and it starts making sense. Now, just practicing this itself can be very fun. Now, eyebrows must always be filled in with lines and moving outward, radiating downward. Even if you're drawing the left eyebrow, so that you get a good texture on the eyebrows. You don't make it look too painted. I'll go over all these features one more time so that I can show them to you in detail. For the lips, you can give a nice shape to the opening of the mouth and then shade the top lip. And again, for the bottom lip, leave a little bit of reflection towards the bottom. And you can shade it a little deeper along the edges, both top and bottom. So even a fictitious face can look very pretty. The other thing I've seen a lot of people do is go and draw eyelashes that go from here to Timbuktu. But you don't really need to do that. Eyelashes need to be started just as a minor flick, just so much, not more than this. I don't like to shape the upper lip too much. Just a gentle curve is usually more realistic. Eyelashes are also radiating outwards. So start from the center and then radiate them outward. The lashes are much smaller towards the nose and a little longer towards the edge. Tips for making both eyes similar. I found that you'll see that both my eyes are not similar. One is slightly flatter here and shorter, the other one is longer. And this is bound to happen. More often than not, the irises need to be identical, and this shape has to be more or less the same, and the only way it can come similar is through practice. Reflection can be anywhere, it does not matter. Okay, these are the basics that we draw, and if you are uncomfortable with this nose, you can make a shape like so. Just extend this towards the side a little bit and give a gentle curve along these sides. Don't connect the two. So we don't want this kind of handlebar nose. If this is the kind of nose you're making, then this is going to look very much like a Ravan illustration, no matter how pretty the face is. You have to break this up. You can make it like this, and then the nostrils come from the sides. Don't connect them. And don't make these too big either. So if you're going to make a big thing over here, again, really not necessary. Alright? These are the things that photographers do when they Photoshop faces. They will reduce that shadow in the nostrils. They will even reduce the nostrils. So when we are making a face from scratch, we might as well think of the photoshopped version and draw that. Okay, so now let's do this together one more time. I'm going to show the same thing. The face will look completely different. This way we can go over the same proportions one more time. This time I'll change my pencil and I'll work with a clutch pencil. Okay, a quick face. Now make an oval. Draw a vertical, half, horizontal half, horizontal quarter, horizontal 1/8, and also above half one more. This would be hairline. I'm going to draw my eyes here. Bigger arc on the top, shallower at the bottom. This is about the same space. I'm going to let's make the nose a little shallower this time. And how about making the lips a little flatter on the top? So as you can see, I have changed the proportions slightly. And let's see what we make of it. Make the eyeball right in the center. Always touch the eyeball to the top lid. It's not necessary that it must touch the bottom lid, but it must touch the top lid. At this point, when you make the paint in the lens, it looks very much like one of those Jagannath eyes, but very fake. Now draw the fold, and I hope those of you who are following with me are not using an eraser. But there's a reason why I'm going really fast, is because I don't want you to erase anything. Just jump into the deep end. I usually make very thin eyebrows in the beginning, usually very shapely. Make a nice narrow nose, shade. So at some point I'm going to take off with this picture and make more details, which I'll speak through, but if you can't keep up with that, don't worry. Just observe it first, because a lot of information can sink in from observation. So when you do try to make it yourself, it comes in handy if you have observed very keenly. I don't know if you all can tell, but the clutch pencil is shading a lot better and a lot smoother, a lot darker than the regular pencil, because the lead is really soft. Alright, so my face is done. So at this point it'll look something like Moon Face from that Enid Blyton book. But I'm now going to extend the face and give it some shape. When you are sketching, try to play with all these shapes also. This is I think a 2B lead, in my clutch pencil. Although I could be wrong, it could be 4B. I need to check that. Now again, if I draw the hair over here, that looks really awful unless I'm going to make a fringe. So I'm going to extend this further. Oh, even further maybe. And somebody had a query about wavy hair. Wavy hair is one of the easiest to draw, because you can just make a squiggle around the face and that works. Just let your hand go all over the place, and that's wavy hair for you. Cool. Now to this, when we want to make it more realistic, there will be some additional things that one can do. So for example, the eyes are, I'll just hold it closer so you can see it. There is always a shadow inside the upper lid that makes the eye look more convincingly real. There is a little bit of an inner eye element that makes all this is to bring our illustration closer to realism. There's a little bit of a inner lid, and then you have these lashes. I usually insist, at least for myself, that the lashes be drawn very, very realistically. So just very gently draw the line. So if your eyes are like that, don't draw lines like that, because I mean that just looks like daddy long legs. That's not lashes at all. And now when I'm shading, I only rub the pencil on the surface. I don't make, I'm not intending to create anything other than just a little hint of darkness where my pencil will rub. And what I'm doing now is only from a lot of study of faces. So I get a better idea of where the dark patches are and where the highlights are, and how from the sides of the face you'll always have a little bit of highlight. Okay, I'm just gonna place this down because I need to make the eyebrows. The eyebrows are always made again as lines, like I said before. And I also prefer to show them a little more natural. So a few eyebrows, a few hairs of the eyebrow are seen outside of the line, and a few here which are growing out like they're slightly untweezed. And now I'm just going to go and sketch some, do a little bit of shading to show you how this same picture can become a lot more realistic. Now what I recommend is that you can look for photographs on the net and look for good black and white pictures, because that's where you get good references from. You will find a lot of work from professional photographers which you can just refer to and make sketches from. When I did this, I was 15 and I had an extremely long summer vacation during my 11th and 12th, my 10th and 11th break, and that's when I started doing a lot of this pencil sketching. Right, now I'm also going to show you one more thing that you can do with pencil sketching. For pencil sketching, one boon is that you can use a blender, and all you do is use the tip to blend your pencil lines in, and as you keep using it, the blender picks up a little bit of the lead, and you can use that to smoothen out certain lines. So while I have her cheek here, it's become too stark, I can blend this in. And as I'm blending, I can move it into the unshaded part and make the lines a lot softer. So as you can see, it's starting to become more we are actually pressing the lead into all the grooves in the paper. That's what's happening. If you use your finger, it's fine, but usually our finger has got a lot of oil. It's got a natural oil. Okay, so she's becoming really dark. I'll just paint till half. Shadow. It's very difficult to hold the book in one hand and draw it, because in class I insist that everybody must hold their hand on the paper that they're drawing. So just give me a minute and I'll show you how this will translate into a realistic face. I have no reference for this face. I have just drawn it from my imagination. But if you know the breakup of the face, then this practice becomes good fun. You could just be sitting around with a paper and pencil, even the back of a bill for that matter, and you can freely do this. It turns out really good. You can do the same on the eye as well. Anywhere where you have shadows and you want to soften things. So a soft lead is ideal. There you go. Yeah, so for beginners especially, don't use an eraser, because beginners have to fight their lack of faith. Like I said yesterday, the first few pictures are going to be less than what you expect. But if you erase anything, you will not be able to figure out what it is that went wrong. You must keep those things around. Only then will they stay. And then also, without the eraser, you tend to think twice about how you want to make the next line, and where you want to position the next feature. When I have, as a practice drawing, if I make this illustration, I have reference of how high I made the nose, then what effect does it have, how big I made the eyes compared to the guidelines that I had given myself, how was the hair made, the fact that I moved the hairline all the way up from here to here, from here to here to here. All of that remains with you, so that when you're going to make the final a fair illustration, it becomes all these things come back to you, and you are able to have a much better assessment of how you want to draw it. At the end of the day, when you're faced with a blank paper, it's you and your pencil and your hand, and your mind has to say, okay, in this, where do I put what? Okay? Right, now I'm going to go feature by feature. I have shown you a breakup of all of this. If time permits, I'll also go over this one more time in case there are people who have joined in late. But now I'll just show you feature by feature how you can practice each of the features on their own. Let's do the eyes first. The basic shape of the eye, maybe I'll do two and I'll show you. The basic shape of the eye is an almond shape, right? So you draw a reasonable almond shape. Then one side of the almond, you will draw a little knob that comes out. And from the bottom you will draw this line, but don't join them together. Now let's draw the pupil. When you're practicing the features, just draw one eye at a time. Don't draw both. Okay, this is second. Make sure that it's a proper circle. Inside it, the lens must also always be concentric. If you draw the lens anywhere else in any other shape, it could indicate that the person has a problem, has a sight issue. And then we are going to draw reflection over here. Thickness of the nose, there is no such proportion for thickness of the nose that I know of. There, in the standard proportions of the face, and you will find a lot of references on the net, there could be proportions of each and every feature to itself. Like for example, the distance between your nose and your eye is the length of your ear, or this distance like I told you. And apparently these measurements were penned down by none other than Leonardo da Vinci when he studied the body. Okay, so this is our structure. I'm also going to draw the lid. The lid is slightly bigger, further away towards the center of the eye, and can often be closer towards the outer side of the eye. And about the size of the eye that you make, the same size above is where you can draw a line where you will make the eyebrow. I've seen a lot of people who've drawn an eyebrow exactly like that. It's like a semicircle around the eye, and that can look really artificial. So this is the guideline, and you can then make the eyebrows really thin like so, or you can make them fat like so. Once you have drawn this, for the shading, there is a trick by which you can shade in one shot if you want, or you can just shade 3/4 of the eye really dark. Oh no, just do any one shade. The maybe second from lightest shade that you can make, about so much. And the slight variation here. Now make it a little darker in the top half, but still not as dark as the lens. The lens must stand out as the darkest element. So just rub your pencil a little bit in the top half of the eye, and now just rub a little bit along the edge. If you do a Pinterest search on irises, and or just the eye, because irises are also flowers, you come across there was some kind of photography challenge or project somebody did where they've just shot close-ups of the eye, just the iris, and this, it's like a different planet. Everyone's got a different planet in their eye. Okay, now for the thick eyebrows. The eyebrows start off being almost vertical in the center, so all those ladies who have gone out and tweezed their eyebrows know how they look. Use that beauty parlor knowledge over here. And as you come to the side, the eyebrows start tapering downward. The evolutionary reason for this is so that we are able to catch our sweat, and the sweat then goes down on the side of the eye. This has become really straight. Ugh, awful. I'm gonna have to make them fatter, and then maybe later I can just do a little bit of threading for this. Could be a man's eye. Okay, now after these features are done, the shading on the inner part just very lightly, as it's so gentle. I've just kind of fuzzed the line of the upper lid, so don't make too much shading here. And there is a little shape of the eye here and the inner lid, which I'm going to make just as a broken line, not as one continuous line, because then it starts looking like kajal. And don't focus so much on the lower lid. Now for the lashes, always start from the center, because then that gives you some idea of how to radiate them outward. So just about so much is enough. 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, the same principles, and distribute them a little more is closer to each other towards the outer eye. Can you see this? It's all just a play of how you shade. If you want to do a little more detail in this, you can also draw radiating lines coming from some parts of the eye. They just create a very subtle texture. It does not have to be very prominent. Just a few lines inward, like so, and then you can darken this even more. That's it. That's all that you need to do. Okay. Now what I used to do is I would just practice making these eyes, and I'm going to make another one so you know how you can vary it. Now here we made a very round shape. How about if we make a very flat and big shape? How does that look? When you are exploring portraiture like this, especially when you are a beginner and you want to see how faces make a difference, all these things can be played with, like how chemists would probably work in a lab. What if I put these two things together? What would that look like? And also do things like, what if you draw just half of the eye? How does that look? Always remember that it should look like part of a whole, but only half is visible. Don't make a semicircle. Again, over here on the corner of the eye, please don't make this, because that looks awful. And like I was saying earlier, don't make this. This means nothing also. So corner of the eye is a very gentle, and we all have eyes, so you can go and look in the mirror how the inner eye looks. Then the lens. How about if we make the reflection here and here? How does that look? There's a whole science about how the pupil grows big or small. If you want your eye to look really cute and attractive, draw a really big lens. If you want the eye to look, or the person to look really sinister, make the lens really small, like just a pinhead. Okay, I'm gonna give this eye a very sharp arched eyebrow. Alright, and also let's do some makeup on this eye. So longer lashes. How about a smoky eye? Let's give her some eyeliner. How about some wingtips? And if you've got colored pencils for this, it's just amazing fun. You can just go to town with this. We can put kajal. Remember to put that little bit of shadow on the inside so it starts looking realistic. It's just beautiful. Now for the bottom also we have lashes, and they come from the outside. Always draw a small broken line for the inner eye to make it look less sinister. Isn't it just amazing? You can do the reflection anywhere. You can just practice, see how each of these works. What you do need to practice is getting your shapes nice. So focus on getting this and this shape right, and freely look for images in magazines or books and try and draw from that. Draw from drawings themselves. That'll be cool too. I'll be putting up these photographs on Instagram afterwards. I'll also try and put this on Pinterest. If you want, you can search for the Doodle Factory. You can follow me on Pinterest as well. Okay, now quickly before the session ends, I'm going to show you how to show a couple of elegant mouths. I like to draw my mouths less shapely than we see in portraits, and I'll explain to you why. When I learned to draw mouths, I was asked to draw a very mechanical mouth. Draw an M shape like this, and then draw another M shape that's really wide like this, and then draw a W shape like that. And I never found this very attractive. I just, it's like, just nah, just didn't work. And then over time I realized that most faces don't have lips that are like that. So if I'm going to make such realistic eyes, and imagine a mouth like this, it's crazy. So I started softening it out, and I realized that I really liked lips which had a much softer shape. So not a very pronounced dip on the upper lip, and a good proportion above and below. So this almost like the you will see this mouth drawn in cartoons, especially in Archie cartoons. So this is like a Veronica mouth. You can also do another one where you have, and every time you want to make them smile, just turn the corners up a little bit. You can also do something like this, where it's not such a sharp line. Just make a very gentle undulating curve and something like that. And another tip for when you guys, if you are ever going to draw open mouths and teeth in it. So I'm going to try and draw this without any reference. The teeth usually stick out like this. And the lip widens, not widens, because the mouth widens, the lip becomes slightly thinner, the upper lip. So you can't draw it the same size. And the bottom lip opens out a little bit. But this is one shape, and I'll show you the same shape where many times people would draw like this. You don't have to draw the teeth for a beginner, unless that's the joke. So in a reference image, this is probably how the person's teeth are looking, but all you need to do is just draw a little bit of the shape of the tooth at the bottom, and just a shadow. That's usually enough. And also because our teeth are never seen like that fully white, just do a gentle shading from the sides towards the center. And like we did for the eyelid, this kind of shadow, just do a little shadow on the upper teeth. And that usually looks better than this, unless this is very much like a caricature. So if that's what you need, yes, this is what you need. There's nothing wrong, it's just what you generally expect and what we'll end up doing. So yeah, the hour is up. I hope this was informative. I will put up both these pictures. We have just about 3 minutes left. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Please send me your pictures. If you really want to master portraiture, I would suggest make at least one sketch of a face every day, and do it without an eraser and without judgment. Don't look at anybody else's pictures. Look at your own, and what will happen is you might find some things that have worked and some things that haven't. So first you would probably see the things that you don't like, note them down, and throw them away, and then look at the stuff that did work. Usually things that do work are going to be shading sometimes works very well. Some lines and proportions work very well as well. Yes, a baby's proportions are very different, as you can see already from this face and this face. The face at the bottom looks a lot younger than the face at the top, because the proportions are different. The younger the person, the smaller the nose and the bigger the eyes. There are lots of things in portraiture. I could teach portraiture for a whole year, and I would love it. But yes, so there's lots to do. I too I'm learning every time I make a portrait. I'm learning something new. Boys' proportions are different, age-wise the proportions are different, but best thing is to sketch and figure out for yourself how those proportions work. Make notes. Of course, look for tutorials, look for books on where you'll find proportions, but always remember that what you learn intrinsically is what works. There may be lots of instructions, but use that as 50% of the knowledge, and reserve 50%. Even if there's no knowledge, reserve that 50% as something that you want to learn, to fill in the blanks for your learning. And great, so one announcement: tomorrow I'm going to be on Craft Sutra. Sorry about that. Craft Sutra tomorrow at 5. So those of you who are coming here, please come there. I will be doing cup painting at 5. That's Wednesday, 22nd April. So go to Craft Sutra. This is it. At 5 o'clock, and I will do the live session over there. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.